What happens when passion meets unending opportunities? When a chance is provided to pursue a dream? In America, the African diaspora are marrying ambition and opportunity and creating a standard of emergence and success in various industries. These individuals are setting a precedent in their pursuits. Hi, I'm Kallie Ejigu, and this is The Benchmark. Hello and welcome to The Benchmark. I'm Kallie Ejigu, and today we have photographer Yodith Dammlash, who's been featured on magazines like Prince George's Magazine, the YBF, and The Root. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kallie.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, what is it that you do?
I'm a photographer. I do freelance work, but I also do my own artistic work. I pretty much do everything, I feel like. I do weddings, I do portraiture, I do landscape, I do travel photography. I've been doing a lot of travel photography lately, so yeah.
So how'd you first get into photography?
I actually took a class in high school. That was I always had an interest in it, and I sort of fought my way into the high school class because it was only for, I think, 12th graders, and I was in 11th grade. But I got in there, and I took it again the next year, and my photography high school teacher really mentored me, and I just kept going with it. I only applied to one art school to major in photography for college. I only applied to one art school, and just took a chance and went there and stayed there and just kept honing my skills, and I'm really glad I did.
Growing up, did you see like some kind of creative, or did you find yourself having a creative outlet, or did you already see something burgeoning in yourself where you felt like you would end up in the arts?
I saw some things, but I didn't necessarily think I would pursue it. Like, I remember always drawing, always had speckled notebooks full of drawings and things like that, although now I do not consider myself a drawer. But I always had a mini interest in photography, always asked my mom and my uncles to see their cameras and things like that. But I definitely didn't think I would necessarily pursue it as my actual career. So I'm glad it turned out that way.
So would you say the photog class that you took in high school, did it shape your decision to go to photography school for college?
Yeah, it definitely did, because I really enjoyed it. It really just came down to I enjoyed that more than any of the other plans or thoughts or other career ideas I had. I enjoyed that the most, and I really feel like people should do what they enjoy, not for money and for things like that, but just do what actually makes you happy if you can.
Are there some artists that inspire you, or that maybe photogs that you look up to?
Well, for sure. Gordon Parks is one. Ida Mulena is another one. Carrie Mae Weems. Lorna Simpson. Yeah, there's a lot that I really look up to. Even ones that I wish I knew more specific names, because I just always find countless like images online that I really enjoy and like have no idea where they're from. But yeah, I'm always looking for new people that interest me and things like that.
Some of those photogs, they have like a certain style. What would you say your aesthetic is, or what kind of subjects are you really interested in?
Subjects I'm interested in people, for sure. I do a lot of portraiture work. I'm interested in people. I'm interested in incorporating different cultures. I'm interested in incorporating my culture, both my cultures, which is being Ethiopian as well as being an American. So definitely trying to explore how those cultures mix. That's definitely an interest of mine.
The cultural aspect you have on your blog, which anybody can go and see, yodithdamlash.blogspot.com, the Gamma series. Could you tell us a little bit about that, the background,
typical day at
series?
home?
Yeah, sure. I started that series in college, and I was taking a photojournalism class, actually, and just started documenting my grandmother. She lives with us.
She is 88.
Just started documenting her, just her everyday routines. I guess it came about, I'm not sure how it came about, but I know what my interest of it is that since she's lived with us for many, many years, and she's totally capable and goes about her own thing, but at the same time she's still like very much an immigrant here, and she doesn't speak very much English, if at all.
Amazing.
So seeing how she was in Ethiopia, where she really does this sort of, or rather did, just go about, obviously that's where she's from, that's her native tongue, that's everything.
Right.
But here she's just more stable, or more stationary rather. She's home, she doesn't really answer the phone unless she knows who's calling.
It's almost as if
she's not
pictures
talking to just people outside. It's not the same. So I was just sort of found it interesting. I haven't had the chance yet to sort of compare with photographs, her here and her there, because last time I was there was like a decade ago, and I didn't have a camera with me then.
Reading,
I just know what she was like when she's there and how different it is here. So I just sort of document the little things about
she
her
reads
here,
everything, but it's usually the Bible, just her daily Bible.
So would you say that
reading.
your heritage plays into maybe the subjects that you choose,
I really
or the
love
style, or what?
I mean, the reason why I really love this series is just
you
how
towards picking certain
you're really getting the details
ideas
or series of photos.
I would say it does. It does. The last few years or the last few projects, it definitely does. I just sort of go to what interests me, and also a lot of times I go to what I don't even necessarily fully understand myself, because I'm still sort of, even though I've lived in America all my life, born and raised here, I feel like I'm still sort of figuring out where I fit in as an Ethiopian-American, and how my art speaks on that or relates to that. So
the last time you went back was like 10 years ago, and at the time you were not into photography.
No, I was, I guess, 14, 15, so I didn't really, I had, I guess that's when my interest started. I was a keeper of the camera, but it wasn't like my artwork per se.
Right. So then do you see yourself going back anytime soon and maybe producing a series there, or?
That is my goal. I would love to do that. I would love to just go there and just shoot like crazy, shoot documentary style. I definitely fancied myself a documentary photographer when I first got interested in photography. But I guess now I'm more leaning towards the fine art side. But I definitely want to just go crazy, shoot everything, anybody who will let me shoot them. I just want to just explore the whole country. And I think I have an interesting perspective on it, because even though I wasn't born or raised there, I feel like it's my native land, but at the same time, I'm sure I'd still be considered an outsider somewhat. So I think it would be interesting to see how my work develops there.
In terms of work now, you freelance sometimes, and sometimes you're contract. Say for example, we were talking earlier about how you may do the BET Awards, but you definitely did them last year. So could you take us through, like, what would a work day like that be like?
Oh, a work day like that is going to the site, going to a location of where they're going to be, being told where you're going to stand and take the pictures, and just waiting for the guests to come down, wait for them to come down, the celebrities, I guess, whoever's coming down the red carpet, and just shooting, trying to get their attention, to look at you, look at your camera, and just getting as many shots as possible. It was a pretty good experience for me last year, so I'm hoping it'll be like that again if I shoot it again.
So do you see yourself doing work like that, like celebrity-based or more public, or do you see yourself really kind of focusing in on your personal projects probably?
I see myself focusing in on my personal projects. I'm glad I still dabble in more public work like that, because I think it's just good to be well-rounded, but I see myself focusing on my own projects for sure.
Sometimes as Ethiopian Americans, we're kind of pushed to pursue, more higher professions, like being a doctor or an engineer or a scientist. Did you ever meet any resistance in pursuing photography, maybe from your parents or at home, or were they nurturing towards that?
I would say they were nurturing enough, for sure. I didn't necessarily feel that pressure from them, but I just felt it just because I knew it existed, if that makes sense. But I didn't necessarily feel it from them. Once they wanted me to explore what interested me, and that's what I've been doing since I was 18, and they support me, they believe in me, so that turned out pretty good for me.
Where do you see photography taking you maybe in 10 or 15 or 20 years, and where do you see photography itself moving towards?
Well, for me specifically, I see it taking me traveling. I feel like I'll be traveling a lot. I like to travel somewhere at least once a year. I really enjoy that, just sort of, I guess, documentary photography of different lands. I went to Europe last year, and I went to Mexico this year for different reasons, but, with my camera in tow. And I love it. I just love documenting and shooting these foreign countries that I really don't know much about. So I really just learn about things through my camera, I feel like. And where photography will be. I think photography will be even bigger than it is now, because there's so many social networks and the media and things like that. It's there's pictures everywhere. I just feel like it'll just be even bigger. I feel like there'll be pictures for everything.
So some photographers, because photography started out as, you develop your film, you're very involved in the process, and now everything is very digital. Do you see that that's going to be a hindrance, or do you come from the school where you think that photography should stay more traditional, or are you, I guess, more in the school of, well, wherever technology can take us, let's go with it?
I would say wherever it can take us, let's go with it, but I don't feel like, I still would like the traditional photography to be an option. It seems to be getting eliminated as the years go on, less dark rooms, and I know in my high school there's no longer a photography program because there's no dark room anymore and they just closed it. So I really enjoy black and white film photography, the old school way of developing film yourself. I love it. I'm for digital and technological advances, but I really wish it didn't have to mean the demise of the traditional process.
In terms of the importance of culture, whether it be like preservation or globalization, like cultures really coming together, where do you think that maybe photography fits into that dialogue of in the world now, because things are becoming a lot more closer, the world's becoming smaller? Do you think photography might quite possibly be an aid? Do you think it could be a way to preserve cultures or bring them together? Where do you stand on?
I think it could definitely preserve and bring them together. I think it could bring them together because a picture as simple as somebody cooking could relate to somebody else. Like, oh wow, I didn't know they, make this dish in Thailand, and here I am making, the same thing. Or like, oh, that person's, father is walking that little boy to school. My dad did that for me, Just even those little things that you don't necessarily think about because these countries are so far away. You imagine the little things we see on TV about them, everything seems so different, but at the core of it all, they're just people. So I feel like photography could definitely highlight that, for sure, yeah.
Would you say is the most rewarding part of maybe a photo shoot?
The most rewarding part is while I'm still taking the pictures, but seeing how well they're coming out just on the the little screen of the digital camera. That's so exciting for me. Like just seeing the actual image and looking at them and just being excited about how they're going to come out, and I'm going to edit them. That's rewarding for me. And it's also definitely rewarding when it's something that I've been hired to do, to know that I've done it well.
And what would you say on the other token, what's the most challenging aspect?
The most challenging aspect is when I have a shot or an image in my mind and it not necessarily coming out that way. And that could be me not being clear to the subject, or just different things that are hindering that. That's definitely the most frustrating thing, is when I have something in my mind and I'm like, I want it to look like this, but it's not turning out that way.
Where do you draw inspiration from? So say, for example, you were contracted and given a big blowout budget. What do you think would inspire you to go for that, that major project, or what would you go for?
I'd probably go for going to Ethiopia and shooting there. That's really my in the near future tangible goal, is to go there and just go crazy with my camera.
So like in markets and in the streets, or just everywhere?
Everywhere. everywhere that I can go.
Right. Well, we'll be right back. Stay tuned after this short commercial break.